Bloomberg Audio Studios.
Podcasts, radio, news.
Single best idea, best way to get us out on Apple Podcasts, a whole bunch of other ways as well. But I just, everything's said and done. Thank you to Apple for just how they've invented this. I go back a zillion years ago with Bloomberg on the Economy and Bloomberg Surveillance and was humbled to visit Cupertino with Emily ages ago and to see what Apple wrought in the podcast business. It's a whole different world now. We've got lots of exciting plans here at Bloomberg Podcasts that you're going to hear about in the coming weeks, and it's good to do a 6-7 minute little vignette of what two smart people say every day on Bloomberg Surveillance. Michael Purves is smart. We'll get to that in a moment. But first, Julia Coronado at BNP Paribas, she really held down the court in the great financial crisis. She was way ahead on the idea that GDP would not be sprightly. That was a heck of a call over 36 months. Now with macro policy perspectives with Constance Hunter. And Julia Coronado, and I think the heart of the matter is, how do you measure inflation? Jason Furman up at Harvard has really led the way on this in taking a sum of 3-month annualized, 6-month annualized, 12-month annualized, a set of inflation statistics to come to some smoothed average disinflation. Here is Julia Coronado on your annualized inflation.
We're looking for a 0.3 on core. That would still bring the annual rate down a couple ticks, but it would lead the 3-month annualized rate up. So it would be kind of neither here nor there, I think, in terms of the Fed. It would not be particularly worrisome because, year on year, we're still making progress, but it would also say there's no rush. And then you take that with the Friday employment report, I think that's going to matter more, Tom, the jobs data, if that shows signs of, the perfect Goldilocks labor conditions are starting to cool off a little bit, that might give the Fed more urgency versus if that continues.
Julia Coronado there on trend. And what's important here, and this goes to a lot of technical analysis, including the equity market or the 10-year yield, is generally academics and market pros like to find trend and not the turn. Finding the turn is much, much harder. The phrase here, and there's a fancy word stochastics people use, but the phrase here is to catch a falling knife. Jerome Powell and Julia Coronado are not trying to catch a falling knife. They need to see a trend in data, and that is codified by the annualized. To take 3-month data and then pretend it's a 12-month statistic, and that's a 3-month annualized guess. I guess look to Jason Furman out on Twitter for some real good guidance on that as he holds the court at Harvard in Ec 10. Holding the court for years in a synthesis of what we're doing is Michael Purves. He's at Tallbacken with all sorts of cred and heritage on Wall Street, and he and I and Damian Sassar are sitting in today for Paul Sweeney. I mean, the fact is, there was Bitcoin 3 weeks ago. There was Bitcoin 3 days ago. There was Bitcoin 3 minutes ago. Michael Purves on the spike in Bitcoin. What is the market structure of Bitcoin?
I'm going to
Our audience knows my answer.
I think you just gave the audience your answer.
I was going to make a quip that if Bitcoin rallies to fresh time highs as it just doesn't make a sound today, whereas just a few years ago when it famously broke 20,000 and every institutional investor had to have a view on it.
Is it a market structure or is it contrived?
I think it's contrived.
Michael Purves, not mincing words here. Here's the background on this, and I say good morning and good afternoon worldwide to all of you in support of Bitcoin. I will observe, as a general statement, it's been hugely generational. The best work on this, and the work that I read and Michael Purves reads, is the Bank of International Settlements in Geneva, Switzerland. The stereotype is there's the central banker to the central banks. What you need to know is it's a huge academic combine, and with the leadership of Raphael Auer, the Bank of International Settlements has the smartest 8-page, 10-page, 6-page essays. And the heart of the matter of their research that they've really dived into is that this is a retail speculative phenomenon, that most of the volume in Bitcoin is around people trading it for a higher price or trading it for a lower price. And that's really the summary from the best and brightest, and that alludes to what you heard from Michael Purves. What I can tell you is each and every day, Bitcoin goes up. At Bloomberg, look to crypto. It's a franchise. Some real smart conversations, including with Bitcoin positives as well. We have Katie Greifeld and others that give us the reporting here on this event of Bitcoin. The last I looked in the terminal, it's 71,000. We thank you for your attention to Single Best Idea. Wonderful to have Dr. Coronado and Mr. Purves with us today. I have no clue who we'll have tomorrow. We'll make it up tomorrow on Apple CarPlay, on YouTube. Search Bloomberg Podcast, all of that for Bloomberg Surveillance.